Testing 1, 2, 3. Test. Yep, I'm good.
All right, and I hear you perfectly too. Am I too low? I am hot. Test. Better?
Yeah, it's better. And it's also not as besides us sleeping on a couch, it's not bad living with Mike. It's we get along really well. We kind of like the same things. He's a good guy. We kind of chat and stuff. I think he likes the fact that I'm there as well.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that, but you just, like if someone gives you if I give you $1,000 right now, if I give you $1,000, that helps you out a lot, right?
What I would do with that 1,000 is pump it into that credit card, drop that payments down.
Yeah.
That's my big thing is that everything I get goes to that credit card. If I didn't have that credit card, I wouldn't be as bad off. I could probably hang in my own place. That credit card kills. And then with the interest rates going up, that means interest on the credit card goes up.
Mm-hmm.
So it sucks freaking buying the putts.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to start streaming here.
Want me to go live?
I think, I've been streaming for a little bit. I don't think we said anything incriminating, have we?
No. You want me to go live?
Yeah, go live. I'm going to check all the platforms and then we can go.
How much longer did it take to hit all the platforms?
Maybe 2-3 minutes.
Okay.
But you can get yourself set up.
Okay, I'll go live right now. Okay, it's 1, 3, 2, 1.
All right.
Hey everybody, this is John with Ubaldi Reports, the one website that provides fact, not fiction on global and national news. There's a lot to talk about. One of the big topics we're going to hit today is the U.S. Supreme Court's draft abortion legislation that was that was written by Samuel Alito, who stated in the draft that he wants to overturn Roe v. Wade and let the states decide for themselves which way they want to go on the abortion debate. But the big news of that, everybody focused on the draft legislation of banning abortion, but we also need to focus on it was leaked. It's the first time in U.S. history that a draft potential Supreme Court decision on a major constitutional issue has been leaked to the press. And they still don't know who it is. Now, there's 9 Supreme Court jurists with 4 clerks per jurist. So that means you got 36 law clerks to deal with and probably other support personnel. So somebody leaked it. Now, they're trying to find out. Chief Justice John Roberts, he has got the U.S. Marshals involved, and I believe the FBI is now involved. So that should be the biggest issue. I got it.
Are we going to find out who leaked it?
We should soon, so we'll have to see. We're going to get ready to go live on this, so just bear with us. I'm just kind of prepping, as we say in the military, prepping the battle space. My co-anchor or co-host, Joe Bitts, former combat Marine from Iraq, he is just doing some tests, trying to make sure we're all set on all our streaming sites. If you can continually follow me, or follow Ubaldi Reports, you can go to TikTok, or you can go to any of the streaming platforms.
TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook.
I
think that's it.
And that's it. But we're trying to get this all taken care of. We're going to get a better computer so that strictly focuses on the podcast itself. So just bear with us, and we'll get this going. If you have any questions, put them in the chat, and we'll try to answer those questions to the best of our abilities. If we can answer something, we'll definitely get back with you. So
you can ask me anything, and I will just kind of go off a little bit. I'll go off a little bit on my own opinion.
Yeah.
Where John's mostly fact.
Yeah, so we just want to know what you guys think. What do you think about it? To put it out before we go live again. What do you think about the Supreme Court decision? Do you think we should focus more on how it got leaked? Because now the judges on the Supreme Court have to be leery of what they say openly or what they put down because they're afraid that it's going to get leaked to push a political agenda, which way it's going. So we'll just have to go from there. How much longer we got?
Give me a few seconds.
Okay, we're just seconds away from officially going live.
So, no. We're live. We're live. We're going to start recording here.
Yeah, so I guess if you have questions right now before we go live, I'll try to answer them. until we officially go live, and then we go from there.
All right. I think we're all good on all
Okay,
fronts.
so we look like we're good. Joe's getting ready to give me the high sign to go live officially.
I think I'm just going to mess with you just for a couple more minutes because you just look like you're trying to pull things together.
Well, I just like to start on time and to just make it as best we can. I know we're doing this on a bootstrap budget.
Well, I got to watch some Moon Knight with my kids. So
okay, so let's get this ball rolling.
All right, 3, 2.
Hey, everybody, this is John with Ubaldi Report, the one news website that provides fact, not fiction, on global and international issues and domestic issues as it impacts the United States. And this is coming from 2 combat Marine veterans of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Well, 3, but one's not here.
Well,
He's in Hawaii.
He's in Hawaii. But anyway, right now it's myself and my friend Joe Bitts, who served in combat with the Marines in Iraq. So how's it going, Joe?
Great, John. How are you?
I'm doing good. So there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there is. I mean, with I guess there's a bit of background with Ukraine and Russia. But I guess the main focus right now, and then the whole Twitter Elon Musk thing has kind of gone to the side a little bit, and it seems like the Democrats are kind of been fishing, and then finally they land something.
I think they were waiting for that big issue that's going to take the inflation, the economy, crime, immigration off the front burner. I'm not so sure it's going to affect the midterms. I'm not sure how big effect it's going to have, because if you were in favor of abortion, you're going to vote Democrat.
Yeah.
If you were not in favor, you were pro-life, you're going to vote Republican. The key is, how do the independents see it? The independents typically support abortion, but as the woman becomes not more pregnant, as the time goes on, or later in the pregnancy, the support for abortion drops. Now, if you ask the Democrats, at what point would you accept an abortion? I mean, what would you accept of not aborting the child? And or they don't have an answer to that, because there's a lot of issues. Now, I know it was a leaked from the U.S. Supreme Court, which was the first time in history.
It was opinion.
It was a draft opinion.
Yeah, and I just that kind of offsets me off a little bit too. Is that he hasn't really made a final decision yet. They get this drafted opinion, and they're all like, "Oh my God, women's rights are gone."
But see, if everybody just read the opinion. What he said abortion's not in the Constitution, okay. Even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who supports abortion, she said that the Roe v. Wade abortion ruling in 1973 was flawed.
Okay.
And one of the reasons it was flawed...
Well, can we hold on for 1 second here? Why don't we just go over Roe versus Wade real quick? It was back in 73, right?
1973.
Where they legalized?
All it said is they legalized abortion.
Okay.
But, okay, abortion is legal.
Mm-hmm.
Who can get an abortion?
Well, women for one, I guess.
Okay. No, okay, but I mean, women for one. Now, think about it. You have daughters. You have besides your youngest daughter.
Yeah.
But you have an older daughter who's over the age of 18, and she obviously she was under the age at 18 at one point. The question is that Roe v. Wade didn't decide who can get an abortion. They said all women can get an abortion.
Okay, so they didn't put an age to it.
They didn't put an age to it. They didn't put. There's 3 trimesters in the pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Do they say you can? They never codified. Can late-term abortions be legal? If you remember the former governor of Virginia before Glenn Youngkin took over, he had a controversy where he supported infanticide. He believed in abortion even after the birth of the child, when he stated that we should take the child in question and make that child comfortable before you abort it. So
basically, why they're saying it's poorly written is because they don't specify an age and they don't specify when along the term of the unborn.
Correct.
as when they can abort it. So if they kind of went in there and refined the law a little bit, saying you can't have an abortion after 16 weeks, and if they're like anybody, you cannot have an abortion under the age of say 18 unless
you have parental consent.
Yes.
Now the other issue that Samuel Alito wrote in that draft legal brief is what constitutes life.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, some people go back to the time of conception. Some were codifying life as when you start to hear a heartbeat because technology has changed. When Roe versus Wade passed in 1973, you couldn't hear the fetal heartbeat of the child in question. Now you can hear it at a younger age. Now a child can be born, a premature child can be born. I'm not sure at what point, but they can survive outside the womb in a hospital setting or a prenatal condition.
I think that's where they that's where I think really the cutoff should be. If I can take this baby out of the mother right now, and it can survive, not I wouldn't say on its own, but it could survive with
additional help.
Without additional help. But then you would have to there's premature babies that NICU and all that kind of stuff.
But that's the issue that Samuel Alito was talking about. All these issues would have been debated at the legislative level. Now, even Antonia Scalia, the Supreme Court jurist who passed away in 2016, he had stated that he doesn't want the courts making decisions on social matters.
Yeah.
He said the best way to do is per the Constitution is at least at the least at the congressional level, but the very best part, as the founders wanted, is at the state legislature level. Let the states make their decision. Now, people are saying this is going to ban abortion. It's not going to ban abortion.
No, it just kicks it back down to the
states. Some states are going to say we believe in abortion. Other states aren't. Maybe one time, one governor or one legislature says you can't get an abortion except for X, Y, Z. Elections have consequences. A new legislature, a new governor comes in, they can push abortion.
Yeah.
So, but to me, the most serious problem with all this is how this got leaked. Because I listened to a lot of the experts who've served on the of law clerks. What they do as the jurist, all the Supreme Court members get together and they debate this. They talk to this. They put briefs out, pushing their views, pushing their side, or what. Maybe they can convince somebody, change their view, or maybe they can alter a part of the court ruling to sanitize it to make it different. But when this individual, we don't know if it's a male or female, when they released that draft, they were trying to infuse politics, public opinion into the Supreme Court.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
What if it was an actual Supreme Court judge that was the one that leaked it?
That you can't take that off the table. Maybe there was a Supreme Court judge.
Because we just brought in a new justice. And
that could be, and I hate to use this word or term because it was so abused by the Democrats under Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That could be an impeachable offense because listening to I know I follow this gentleman a lot. Alan Dershowitz said the same thing.
I forgot about Alan Dershowitz.
Yeah, he's
Jonathan Turley, yes.
Jonathan.
Who's the other one?
Alan Dershowitz.
No, the middle guy.
Victor Davis.
There we go, Victor David.
Okay,
Hansen.
but Dershowitz, but even Jonathan Turley from George Washington had stated this person it's such an egregious act. This person could potentially and should be disbarred.
Yeah.
So if it was a Supreme Court jurist, or maybe let's just say for the fact, and I'm not saying this is him.
Any criminal?
There could be criminal prosecution because if they lied to the FBI, that sets that in motion. Now, I'm not saying it's him. Don't anybody take this that I'm saying it's him. Look what happens if it was Stephen Breyer. He's leaving. He believed in this. What if he said, "This is my one official"? I seriously doubt it was him. And the reason I say this, he is in the same mold as Ruth Bader Ginsburg. He was against court packing.
Yeah.
So, and he was also miffed that it was leaked that he was going to resign. Now, he told President Biden, and then all of a sudden it gets leaked.
Yeah.
He wanted to do it on his own terms. So,
is the pool small of where they might be finding people that?
Oh yeah, because there's 9 Supreme Court jurists with 4 clerks each. So there's 36 law clerks, and I'm sure there's other support personnel. So when they do this, they need the law clerks to help do research for them.
Okay.
So they need their clerks, and as they debate this, so the pool is very small.
Well, okay, the guy that wrote the piece,
Samuel Alito.
Okay, is it possibly one of his clerks? Because that's where.
Well,
or is this his opinion shared between all the Supreme Court judges?
The way it sounded like, he wrote the draft opinion, and I guess, I don't know how it works. Do they all write an opinion and then they share it with each other and they go back and forth with it, and then they take a vote, and it's 5. Let's say it's 6-3. So let's say it becomes 6-3. Somebody's going to be in the majority and someone's going to be in the dissenting. So they have a majority opinion, usually written by the person who's strongly supports that particular issue, and then they have a dissenting opinion. So you get to read both.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting. At this point, I won't rule, and no investigator should rule anybody off the table. And I guess what they would do is it's like a police investigation. When let's say there is a child involved, they always go to the closest person first, the parents. Then they start checking them off. Okay, we went through this person. They start inward, and then they move outward.
Okay, so who broke the story when it came to the
Politico?
News? Okay, can we just go Politico and be like, hey, who's your source, buddy?
No, Politico, because the Constitution states they don't have to reveal their sources.
No, but I mean...
No, but and that's a fundamental right of America. Do not reveal your sources in journalism. But Politico and the news organizations have a lot to answer for this. Politico ran this story because it benefited Politico. Politico is a left-leaning news outlet. But Politico didn't run the Hunter Biden story because it didn't meet their narrative, meaning they wanted Joe Biden to win against Donald Trump, so we can't make Biden look bad. But 2 news outlets, the New York Times and Washington Post, the last few months authenticated that story. So why would you run with this but not the other?
I think it's a really good who done it kind of.
Well, it is, and I hope they find out, because we can't have bureaucrats, law clerks. We didn't elect them. We didn't appoint them. They can't put their scale of justice because they think they want to go push the discussion a certain way or intimidate the judges. And that's another part of the crime. You can be intimidating the court.
Okay.
You're basically threatening them if they did a certain way, you're going to be attacked. Now, remember, Chuck Schumer threatened the court when he said to Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and others, if you don't do this way, you're going to reap the whirlwind. Like, violence is coming.
Yeah.
And we got to get out of this as an American society. If something doesn't go our way, we got to resort to violence. And it's just a mistake. And it's just.
How do you assemble, say, 1,000 protesters and listen maybe 3 hours after the news broke? I mean,
because these protesters don't have jobs. But I mean, the other part is, look at what's happening in our institutions. Our institutions have been under attack. And then some of the lawmakers are themselves leakers. Adam Schiff. I just found out through research, Patrick Leahy. Patrick Leahy is on the, I think he chairs now the Judiciary Committee in the Senate. He was forced to resign. He resigned himself, but he was going to be unanimously forced to resign from the Senate Intelligence Committee because he leaked the Iran-Contra report in 1987 to the press.
Okay.
So then you look at what Hillary Clinton did. Then you look at all the leaks that came under Donald Trump where bureaucrats decided they know what's best. We didn't elect them.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, when it came to, this isn't a whistleblower kind of
No,
status.
this is not a whistleblower.
So this person is going to face some repercussion?
They should face repercussions.
They should.
And this is where the Democrats need to be. Okay, I got it. You can have the discussion on abortion. Okay, I got that. But you should be appalled, not cheer, not hold this person up as a hero. And like as Jonathan Turley mentioned, I'm afraid, and I would agree with them, that if this person is outed or outs themselves, are they going to get book deals? Are they going to be on the speaking circuit making millions because they're the one that exposed the evilness? And look at what some of the senators said. Look what Elizabeth Warren said. She basically threatened violence against these individuals. You have Bernie Sanders talking about packing the court. We need to abolish the filibuster.
Yeah.
So is it because if I don't get my way, I got to change the rules?
See, you know what's going to be really interesting to watch is that if they're going to try so hard to remove this filibuster, and say they do, let's just say, they do in 2022, right before, and then all of a sudden the House gets taken over and the Senate gets taken over by the Republicans. And he could try to pack the court all he wants. We're just going to shoot it down every single time, right?
Yeah, or let's say they pack the court or they end the filibuster. And let's say in 2024, the Republicans win the White House and they take the Senate and the House. Since you got rid of the filibuster and they packed the court, well, the Republicans would pack the court with their judges.
Okay.
And then if they end the filibuster, things that Democrats don't like, they won't be able to filibuster. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just setting up the blow up in her face.
The filibuster was used as a tool to have the majority having to work with the minority because you couldn't just jam your thing through.
Yeah.
And Alexander Hamilton wrote in the Federalist paper, I think it was like Federalist 64 or something, that stated he wanted the Senate to be the cooling off chamber, where you have all the passion in the House. By the time it got to the Senate, they put the brakes on. Okay, guys, let's think this through.
So I just think it's kind of weird that what's the issue here that they're playing into? Is it the leak of this? Is it the fact that the Supreme Court's like washing their hands of it and just going to kick it back down to the states? Or are women actually going to lose their right? Or is it just going to get settled into, say, their state?
The big issue is abortion, obviously. It's where you sit. Samuel Alito, in his draft version, said it's not part of the Constitution, said anything about abortion. Yeah. It's not that the Supreme Court is washing its hands of it. The Supreme Court, Antonio Scalia was one. Judge Alito was following in that example. He didn't want social issues to be debated by 9 judges. He wanted, like we stated earlier in the podcast, had they debated abortion at the legislative level or even at the congressional level, they would have vetted out, okay, most people can support abortion.
Yeah.
But then as you start going deeper into the pregnancy, as we said, you have a daughter. What would you feel like if your daughter was 16 and she was allowed to get an abortion?
Without my consent?
Without your consent. But I can't give your daughter an aspirin because I would be legally held responsible.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got that issue. Then what about late-term abortions? When you go deeper into the pregnancy, past the 15th week, past the second trimester, into the third trimester. Remember, the former governor of Virginia, before Glenn Youngkin took over, he believed in infanticide.
Yeah.
Some Democrats believe abortion on demand all the way up until the time of birth. Now, I'm pro-life, but I do believe in abortion on 3 cases: rape, incest, and the life of the mother. The reason I'm for abortion for rape and incest, that wasn't a choice that woman had.
Yeah.
And that is a very traumatic event to have that person carry a child that was a focus of violence and carry that child to term.
Does your
church?
Opinion? No, does your church affect your outcome of what you think of abortion.
No, I had this opinion before that.
Okay.
Before I joined my church, even my church, they support working in consultation with church leadership. They would support a person getting an abortion. And I'm not speaking for my church.
Yeah.
But they would support working with church leaders for rape, incest in the life of the mother. The reason with rape and incest, specifically, our church believes that you have a choice. They believe in, I guess we call it free will, or you have a choice. Everybody has a choice of what they do in life. Like there was an example of, I know way back in the day, but if people remember Dear Abby.
Yeah.
There was a column that was written by a woman that she felt she was not a virgin because she was raped.
Okay.
And there was a church leader, a bishop of my church, wrote, commented on that article. And what he said is, you are in God's eyes a virgin.
Yeah.
Because when you have sex with somebody, that's your choice. Your choice in rape and incest was taken from you.
Yeah.
God is all loving, is not going to punish you because you had an abortion because of a choice that was taken from you. And I don't think he would want a child born into the world by a violent act.
Yeah.
Now, there are purists out there. Even in my church, there are purists out there who said no abortion, period. I would disagree with that. To carry a child to term that's through a violent act has got to be so traumatic for the mother. And that's why they want him to do it in consultation so they can understand what the decision, but they would not hold it against her. And God, I believe God would not hold it against her if she had an abortion in those cases. But all the other stuff where you had a choice, there's where you have to play out.
Yeah, I mean, like personally, I don't agree with abortion. I guess I'm pro-life, but I would think there are many other avenues that the state, or not the state, that
individual.
Well, no, the government can do in order to make it maybe not as an viable or not as a more appealing choice. Like if they could somehow streamline or speed up when it comes to adoption, where like as soon as that kid comes out, and she had every intention of getting rid of the child, here you go, versus it's almost like there's there's a lot of steps when you want to go into adopting, where it's a lot easier to adopt from a different country.
Well, it is, because I've talked to people who have adopted children, especially in America, and it's so expensive. People say, well, why don't those who are pro-life should just adopt? They should adopt these children themselves then. Well, how many people have, I think it was averaging between $10,000 to $20,000 or more. Most people don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
So they're not going to adopt. So I think you're right. Now, the other thing when it comes to the abortion issue, I'd look at that as a personal responsibility.
Yeah.
And this is where the men who get the women pregnant need to man up. I had a female Marine in my unit when I was in Afghanistan. She was a single mother, and we were dealing with some of the financial issues that her ex wasn't paying. And finally, when she gets out, I still was helping her out. And finally, we had to go the nuclear option. And the nuclear option was, I called her unit, I talked to their senior enlisted, and I explained to him he's not fulfilling his obligation that he did in the court, that he would pay child support and the medical expenses that were prearranged in that custody hearing. And I told him, it's not my responsibility, it's not your responsibility, nor is it the government's responsibility.
Yeah.
These two people decided to have sex. Things going to come out when you have sex. Potentially you get an STD. Or in this case, a child was resulted from that union.
Yeah.
So man up and take your responsibility. Do your responsibility.
By taking abortion off the table, does that affect women's rights?
No, because in this case, they're misconstruing it. All the Supreme Court said is it's not in the Constitution, and they said the states Let them make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Some states are going to have abortion on demand no matter what.
Yeah.
Other states put limitations. This came out of the Mississippi law, which banned abortion except in some extreme cases after the 15th week, after they hear the heartbeat.
Yeah.
As you said, science is playing out where a child can be born premature and still survive outside the womb, even though if it's in an incubator, it's in the proper capacity, they can survive. And I know other people who are premature children. I was a premature child. I was after 8th month, I was born.
Yeah, and you came out perfect.
Yeah, I came out perfect. There we go. But I mean, that's the point. It's not. It's just telling what they wanted is let the people make that decision. Contact your legislature, not have 9 judges, because all the court does is rule on a decision.
And most of them are constitutionalists, so they'll just abide by the Constitution.
But even if they're not, they abide by the court case that's before it. So Roe versus Wade was all about is abortion legal or not? Yes, abortion is legal. That's why it was poorly written. What does that mean, abortion's legal? What about all these other stipulations that I mentioned? A child who's 16 is pregnant. Does she get an abortion without parental consent? When you can't give, I was at a church event. So one of the youth asked me for an aspirin. I said, I can't give you an aspirin without parental consent.
Yeah.
But yet we're going to have a child get an abortion without parental consent. Now, people will say, well, the parents would do this. Well, then you can go to court and they can expedite anything and make a quick hearing and say, yeah, she can make that decision or not make that decision. The parents will have to have a say in that.
Does that extend to maybe, are they looking more into this than they really should? Like, is it like, because I can't take a 16-year-old girl that I'm the teacher of that got pregnant and I can't take her to get to abortion clinic. Does that also mean like, oh, well, I don't need to tell the parents of this child over here that wants to transition?
Well, that's the other thing. They're taking if you look at President Biden, first of all, it was former Governor Terry McAuliffe. No, I'm sorry. The previous governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, who ran against Glenn Youngkin in September of last year, he stated parents have no say of what's taught their children. Now, look what Joe Biden said at the Teacher of the Year award just this past week.
Okay.
He said, these children are your children. What would you think that when a teacher says or president says, your child is not yours, your child belongs to that teacher? I would be fuming mad.
Yeah.
So I think that's a bigger role where the Democrats are going and they're making a mistake. They're saying, these aren't your children. These are my child. Your children are yours, not the government, not any teacher. The teachers are there to teach the children, not say they're yours.
What if it comes to that old saying, it takes a village?
It takes a village when they help assist the raising of the child in various aspects, like teaching a child math, reading, writing, science, that sort of thing, or watching out for a child to make sure that child doesn't get hurt. Or if they're doing something wrong, let the parents know. I remember my brothers and me, we were kids. We goofed around with some friends. We did some things we weren't supposed to do. By the time we got home, my dad found out and got the call, and then we got the notice to go back to the barn, and he broke out the whip. I mean, may not do in today's world, but I mean, we were disciplined because we did something wrong.
So if somebody else disciplined you, your dad would have been pissed.
He would have said, what did they do? But see, back then you would just inform the parents. Your child did this. Everybody watched out for everybody's kids. But doing something like this is you're taking the responsibility away from the parent. And then you wonder why kids go wrong today.
Yeah.
So it's just, but people need to read the draft brief before you make a decision, and everybody's just in.
But nobody does that.
Nobody does that. I read the draft brief, and if you read it, it was very well written, very well articulated, but still.
And also, let's understand what generation we're dealing with here, because we have one. He's in Hawaii right now, where he just reads the top. Probably reads the title, maybe gets a sentence or two in, and then that's it. And the thing is, so like another thing, okay, so something, so he comes up or he texts me. He goes, "Hey, the ghost of Kiev died in combat." And it turned out, if you look more into the story, that the ghost of Kiev is maybe like an urban legend, he's like a mythos that we've created to kind of rah Ukraine. So you're getting those millennials, or you're getting those younger types where like you, I was excited that you'll read the article from top to bottom, and then you'll
98 pages,
and you'll make that assessment. Where like me, I'll read maybe like the first 2 or 3 paragraphs, and if it gets me, I'll keep on reading. If it doesn't, I'll just dismiss it. And then we're just getting to an age range where they're looking at the title, they're taking it for face value, and
well, I would even go beyond just that. I agree with your assessment, and you're correct. But what's the excuse of the media? What's the excuse of our elected officials? Joe Biden is
they just want somebody to look at it, grab it, and then
because Joe Biden, I guarantee you, didn't read the 98-page brief. I guarantee you, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Elizabeth Warren, or Bernie Sanders, they didn't read the whole 98 pages.
Joe Biden still thinks inflation's transitory.
Yeah, I mean, so just look at like many other things. The Voting Rights Act for Georgia or Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Did they read the bill? No. How many of them, like the Parents' Bill of Rights that came in Florida, the Don't Say Gay bill, doesn't say that. How many of them read it? Even Disney. How many of them read that bill?
Yeah. So so something came up today where they're trying to sue the state of Georgia because you can print out your own ballot, but now you have to sign it. Or they said they want a wet signature where you actually have to sign the ballot and hand it in. I thought ballots were supposed to be like anonymous.
They are. On the back of the ballot, if you send it in, you have to sign it with your signature and date it. And if you're not signing it, you have to put who is delivering it for you.
Okay.
So all the bills in Georgia, Florida, Texas said when you send in absentee ballots to be vote absent, they just want to know who you are. You have to put a state ID, driver's license, social security number. You have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it says.
Yeah.
But when they did after the 2000 election, it's kind of ironic. After the 2000 election, they had a election committee to study how we can fix it. We don't have a repeat of what happened there.
Yeah.
And it was chaired by former President Jimmy Carter, and it was chaired by former Secretary of State James Baker under George H.W. Bush.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them concluded and articulated their greatest threat to the integrity of an election is absentee ballots.
Okay.
And what the Democrats want to do is flood these absentee ballots. They want partisan individuals to pick up absentee ballots. And these new voting rights laws can't do that. You cannot have ballot harvesting where one person picks up hundreds and thousands of ballots. Can't do it.
Yeah. What about there's a documentary coming out called 20,000 Mules. Have you heard about that?
I've heard of it. I haven't gone into details. What's it all about?
Okay. Well, maybe take a gander at that.
Okay. 20,000 Mules.
I think it's called that.
I'll take a look.
It's going to be, yeah. All right. So why don't you go ahead and tell them where they can get a hold of us, John?
You can get a hold of us by going to ubaldireports@gmail.com. And yes, I do check it. ubaldireports@gmail.com. You can leave messages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Truth.
And okay, let me get to that.
Okay.
And Truth Social. I just joined that up today. You can check us out on YouTube. Hit like and subscribe so we can keep this going. Now, just remember for our listeners, every Wednesday at around 7:30 p.m., every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m., we do a live streaming of this podcast.
Yep.
So let us know what you think, and we're trying to get this going. We're doing our best bootstrapping it. So any messages, anything you like or hear or have questions, let us know, and we'll answer them.
All right. Everybody have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.
All right. Keep listening to Ubaldi Reports. Until next time, listen to Ubaldi Reports. 210 total views.
Says we've been streaming for an hour and a half. I don't think so. God knows what I said. Oh, God.
You said something, but you said something so brilliant.
Sure.